Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Charlytalk, the show where I, principal songwriter and lead singer of the band Charlywood, talk to various music types that I can find, wherever they may be. This episode we are being particularly and disgustingly incestuous because we have our own Markus Manahl, who plays the electrical bass guitar.
Hey guys.
In the band. Markus, thanks for sitting in front of the camera. I was going to say coming in, but you're here a lot.
But you knew that
I came in.
Yeah, that's true.
You're here more than I am. All right.
I am.
You play the bass guitar.
I'll do. So, yes, indeed.
Before we start, caveat, I am a trained bassist. I studied bass at university, so there'll be none of these normal standard bass jokes in this interview, because I have the utmost respect and admiration for the lower frequencies.
Andy.
Yes. So, as I always ask the people who come here, please could you start by telling us where you came from, both music and geographically?
Geographically, I'm from the very west end of Austria, near the Lake of Constance. I think people do know it, between Switzerland and Germany.
I'll put a little map.
A little map in here somewhere.
There'll be a map
here. Like literally the countryside of Austria, like in between steep mountains. That's where I grew up, and that's where I come from, yes. And then I moved to the beautiful capital of Vienna.
Yeah. What for?
For studying music.
For bass reasons.
For bass reasons, actually, yes. I decided that I'll study music and move to Vienna. Because there's just no... doesn't really a way to do it in Vorarlberg, where I come from. There's not like a university. There's a conservatory, but a classical one. You could study the upright bass, but not the electrical bass, yeah.
Okay. And you were in bands before moving here in your early teenage years, like everyone else I've spoken to?
Yes,
you were.
I was. I was maybe a bit later than the common musician.
Mm-hmm.
I started my, like the first band that actually, we played concerts. I was around almost 19, 20, yes.
It is late.
I started pretty late, actually, yeah.
So you moved to Vienna. When was that?
That was in 2011, but January.
Okay.
The very beginning of the year.
And studied popular music?
Actually it's called jazz music, the study I took. But yeah, it was heavily focused on jazz music, bass playing.
Mm-hmm.
Less on popular music or contemporary music wasn't that big of a topic in there.
Okay. And the childhood contained no instrument playing?
It did.
It did?
It did.
What was it?
It was a very short, actually a long story, but it's very short. I played what is it called in English? The accordion?
This business?
Yeah, this business.
Yeah, accordion.
Yeah. Oh, you know the story, Andy. Come on. I don't exactly know how old I was. I think I was around 8 or 9.
Uh-huh.
And as in every good household, kids need to play an instrument.
Sure.
So my dad asked me what I'd like to play, and I said the accordion. And my dad was like, "Son, why don't you learn the guitar or
think
the drums
again,
or
boy."
anything?" And I was he told me years later, I heavily insisted on actually playing the accordion. He tried to change my mind, but come on, learn the guitar or anything, and I heavily insisted on learning the accordion.
Right.
I can't even figure why, because I can't remember knowing any band or musician that was playing an accordion that I could admire. So he bought me one, and this stuff is really expensive actually. And I just started playing for a few weeks, and I was like, nah, I don't like it. But of course my parents insisted at least finishing the whole year in music school. So I was sitting there and I ever got to page 4 on the book. I think I never got any further than playing dum 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 on the bass, just playing jingle bells, all those classic, that kind of stuff. So that was a very short career, me and the accordion. Sold it years later.
A great loss to Austrian folk music, potentially.
No.
Who knows?
I'm not a great loss.
If only you'd stuck it out, where you could have ended up.
Yeah, so that was my first contact with music.
And earliest musical memories, I think, is always interesting to know. What's the first time you can recall ever being aware of music?
Pooh, that's a tough one. Huh?
That's why I sent you the questions before.
Can't really remember. The first time I was aware of music. No, not really.
Okay,
I think you like it's in the early childhood stages when you get this like kids songs and everything.
Yeah.
That might be.
I can still do the theme tune to my kids' cassettes that I
really?
used to have driving around in the car.
Yeah. No.
I can hum all the theme tunes to those cassettes.
No, sadly, I can't remember that.
Okay, maybe something a bit easier then. Any specific youth or childhood events that led you to consider taking up music as a potential serious endeavour in your life? A bit more than a casual hobby type thing. Is there anything where you went, aha, now that's a game I might want to get into?
It's not like you said a youth or a childhood thing. That as well happened pretty late to me. I was in my early 20s already.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't a particular moment, a specific moment. It was just a time of my life. Like everybody has. That's a long story. I was working in a company. I switched jobs from a good job, which was bad paid, to a bad job that get good payment. So I was like, I think I was 22 or 23, and I just worked a whole year making good money, but like making a job that I felt like I could teach a monkey.
Mm-hmm.
And I just figured like, that's not what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I just decided that I'm going to do something that I actually want to pursue and like really dig into it instead of just sitting around for 20 or 30 years and making a living out of it. So I literally threw everything behind me and left for Vienna.
Mm-hmm. Were hands thrown up in horror in the family, leaving a good, reliable job, well-paid job?
Yeah, I mean...
There was a bit of that?
Yeah. Not really, like we do have a family business, and it was kind of a unspoken rule that I will take over one day. Okay. So it was a big step for me to tell my father, like, listen, it's not gonna happen. But he was very cool about it. He told me, like, son, listen, whatever you want to do, it's your life. I don't expect you to do stuff. So I'm very grateful for that, yeah. But as I said, it was very late, like it was in my early 20s.
Okay.
When I decided to go that path.
So you went struck down by an epiphany in your teens.
Yeah.
Let's talk about bass in Charlywood songs. Because I see the bass, as one might imagine, as a serious bassist that I am, I see the bass as playing a very important role in Charlywood songs. What?
It does. I mean, basically, people should know that you wrote most of the bass lines. The core idea of them was basically yours when you wrote the songs. As bass, usually it is for me, it is the linking part between rhythm and harmony. I think that the bass should be, or is in most bands. In quite a few bands, like if the music is too heavily lent on the guitars, like the bass might get a bit lost by just following the guitars. Charlywood.
It's an afterthought in a lot of rock bands, isn't it? It just follows.
Yeah, it is just like play whatever the guitar plays.
Yeah, the bottom note of the power chord and just hammer that.
That's what you do. You wrote the songs pretty differently. Like there's a lot of times the bass is actually carrying the tune and the guitars are just on top of the bass. Even sometimes it's not like the bass isn't playing the classical root or the guitar isn't playing the classical chord over the root. It's mostly harmonized. So the role is, I'd say, more important than in some other bands. But maybe if you're not trained, you wouldn't recognize it. If you just listen to the music, it's not something outstanding you would instantly hear.
Yeah. I mean, the vision for Charlywood was always that it's songs, and the songs are the...
proper listenable songs.
Yeah, the songs are the work, the songs are the aim and the goal, and probably just to keep myself amused, I do other elements, maybe untypical elements to make it a bit more interesting for everyone involved, but I never wanted it to be like a prog thing where people stroke their beards and go, oh, I see, oh.
But you do always, mostly almost, there's a little twist in anything in your songs,
Yeah, I try and put stuff in.
Yeah, just it's not obvious. That's the nice part about it. Maybe if you just played along, you'd recognize, but if you just listen to it, you won't even hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think of every element as well as playing an important role and having their thing. It's never just okay, and that's just propping up the bottom end. Like alternatives, it's the whole thing.
It is like if you leave out the bass, the song wouldn't work at all.
Falls apart completely.
Yeah.
And the guitars are
but on the other hand, it doesn't do a lot. That's the same perspective. Like it's just steady. So yeah, I do enjoy the role in Charlywood quite a lot, actually.
So a good band to be a bassist in, would you say?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet. And your approach in general to bass guitar, outside of like, how do you see bass? I mean, this is obvious to our musician viewers, but maybe just to clarify for people in a popular music context.
It is quite similar, actually. I mean, as we talked, like Charlywood, the role of a bass is a bit more upfront. But the bass, as a linking instrument, as I mentioned before, it is normally just there to actually support, whether it's a singer or a soloist or whatever. Bass is a supporting instrument, and it's always a bit in the background, which I fairly enjoy, actually, which is a great thing. And that's the approach. That's my opinion about the approach of playing the bass, is actually to support music instead of like staying out. Or staying in front. It's more like bass should support the music that is played, actually.
And you damn sure notice when it's missing, I can say that. As a chap standing up the front, it's very nice to have some solid, reliable stuff happening behind me. Cool. Moving on to gear.
Gear, yes.
Are you an epic gear head? You've got a bit of a problem, haven't you?
Yes and no.
You've got a mild.
Mild. Like,
a mild issue.
Mild one. I do love gear. I do enjoy gear, and I'm super interested into it, but more the technical components of gear. I'm not like our beloved friend, Mr. Levi.
Mr. Levi.
I'm not that much like specific pedals and amps. I'm just generally interested into gear. I also watch a lot of guitar pedal shows and whatever, but actually just out of interest, not because I'll buy it. I like my rig generally kept as simple as possible. I don't like a lot of knobs and a lot of switches to fiddle around.
Okay.
I like things kept easy.
Minimal setting up.
You can spend a lot of time by choosing those minimal components, but like keep it simple in a live situation.
Set it and forget it, and stamp on it when you want that noise.
That's the point. Like I think I got like Charlywood is like 2 pedals so far.
Okay.
And those are it's already a lot. Like I
right.
tend to have one on stage.
Okay. So last time we tried to film Levi's pedals, and I'm not sure there was much point in doing that. So this time I'm just going to put links into the pedals that Markus tells us about.
I'll just tell you the names.
Yeah, it's
super easy. Shall I give you a quick rig rundown?
Do the rig rundown,
as people would call it.
Rig rundown. That should be the name of this segment.
Rig rundown.
Note to self. Rig rundown.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's good.
Copyright by me.
Yeah, copyright you.
Centerpiece, the Aguilar DB751. Does sound good, eh? Even the name. With 2 DB112 caps, one with tweeter, one without tweeter. It is a New York bass manufacturer. Very solid one, very comparable in my opinion. I mean, you can like fight above the topic,
be a bass
but
line.
like very comparable to the MPEG SVT heads. Basically, the big difference is that's a solid state power amp, not a tube power amp, but with a tube preamp inside. Does provide a lot of power and headroom. Like I never even cranked it up halfway so far.
You can make yourself feel really sick with that thing if you want it.
Yes, I think it's
really
stable down to 2 ohms with 900 watts if you would actually crank it, but the caps can just handle 300 watts. So,
okay.
But as you can see on my settings here, the master's almost turned all the way down.
Yeah.
The gain not even quarter way up. Whenever I play with Kid in a Casket, like super loud live punk rock music, I'll maybe crank it up to not even half the gain.
Okay.
And the master's around 9, but it's like playing an 8x10 MPEG cap, a huge and big one, super loud stuff. So yeah, power-wise, it's more than enough. Bass, there was actually, I just purchased it.
It's new!
It is new.
New and exciting purchase.
Epiphone, check, Cassidy. Well, you remember when we went to the studio, I actually borrowed that bass from a befriended bass player.
I do remember.
I didn't even have heard of it by then. It was just like I wanted to have an half acoustic hollow body bass for the studio, and he had several of them, but he just said like, take that one. It's a very solid bass, even if you want to play a bit of rock and roll music, like make it a bit louder. And we ended up using it, I think, for almost the whole record.
Yeah.
There were like 2 or 3 songs. We chose different ones.
Yeah. There was a Dan Electro that you used.
Yeah, the ugly one, the Dan Electro.
That was a woofer. Good heavens.
You might want to put a picture in here.
Yeah. I've got a picture of that somewhere. Okay, blending that in now.
Although it really has a great tone if you drive it and like play with the plectrum. But yeah.
Yikes!
Not a beautiful bass. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, purchased it month ago-ish.
Yeah.
I was like looking forward to buy it for quite a long time. Actually, just removed the pick guard and the little white plate with the numbers on top of it.
Okay.
But just for optical reasons. Nothing special about it. Humbucker in there, volume tone. The only special thing about it is I'm not sure if I pronounce it right, impedance?
Impedance?
Yeah, the impedance switch.
Yeah.
So it does have 3 different settings, which actually make quite a huge difference.
Yeah, it does.
If we would just play, I don't know.
Oh, one thing, you can't talk and play at the same time because I can only use one microphone. So talk then play.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we got 3 different settings. We can switch from 50 to 250 and up to 500 ohms. Sorry, kilo ohms. It's quite a big difference.
All right.
Which actually, the output is way higher. Like you almost like if you switch it up to 500, you almost get kind of a clipping signal out of the bass. Especially if you play it a little bit harder or drive it, which is rare actually. You can
Give it the beans!
You can get quite a bit of tone out of it.
Yeah.
So if you want to play something soft, like let's say make it stronger, you might want to go down to 50s and have this around like that kind of vibe. If you now crank it up to the 500, that does change a lot actually. So there's a lot more output of the bass actually coming through, which is kind of nice. Especially, I mean, Charlywood is not a hard and heavy band, but we're still loud on stage.
Sure.
Comparably loud. Like we're not a pop.
It's him at the back.
Yeah.
Smashing.
Yeah. So it's actually nice to have that extra power, like getting. It's just nice. As I said, it's almost clipping. It's like a little bit of distortion by the bass, which is a very nice feature. Because like if you'd like to have the same effect from an amp, for example, you'd have to turn up the gain quite far. Which, as you mentioned or I mentioned, like maybe some sound engineers wouldn't like it if I crank that up.
Nah,
it's gonna get super loud.
Prefer.
So that's the bass. As I mentioned, the switch is the only special thing about it. Pedal wise, I'm not using a lot. Specifically for Charlywood, I'm just using the Big Muff Deluxe by Electro Harmonics, but also in a like very slight way. Like I don't crank it up. Is it on alternatives? Is actually you can hear it a lot. Like on. But it's like I don't like to drive the bass too much, especially in a live context, because like
Hold on, I have to interrupt you because I saw we have to break there for a second. Join us back for part 2. Markus is going to finish telling us about this, and we'll talk about musical influences. And we're back. Had to do a real tight cut there. Camera situations. Yes, you were saying Big Muff. You were just telling
Big
us
Muff, yeah. Actually, since we don't play it anymore,
okay, cool.
You don't have to cut it in.
Good.
Deluxe Big Muff PI. It does have a crossover filter here on the left hand with a second switch. I barely use it, so the smaller version of it does pretty much the same job. It's not necessary, but nice to have. Let's just put it that way.
You don't need a big one.
You don't need the big one since it's more expensive. Okay. It is cool though to have it. Like
that's the deluxe version with it.
That's the deluxe.
The extra jiggery pokery that you don't actually use.
I do use it sometimes, but it's not necessary.
It wasn't worth the extra money.
I mean, yeah. I got it as a gift basically.
Oh, nice.
So
then
I was okay, but I wouldn't necessarily spend the money just for having that feature.
got that for the studio. Shout out to RSL Studio.
Exactly.
I forgot to say that last time. Where we recorded all our albums, in fact.
In fact, yes.
All the albums.
Yes. Pretty much a year ago, actually, wasn't it?
The recording process.
Yeah, the recording. We went to the studios in February.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was.
It was. So, the only other pedal I do have is actually the Soul Food, the bass version.
Mm-hmm.
Very, I think it's a famous effect by Electro Harmonics.
Yeah.
You do play the guitar version, I'll play the bass version. I just like it, gives you some extra grit, crunchiness.
Mm-hmm.
It does take away a little bit of the bass end, though. If you just compare it. Swallows a bit off the bass, which isn't necessarily a good feature for a bass distortion or overdrive pedal, but I'll do like it since I just play it if I want to have it dirty, like in Degeneration. And this kind of sound, it is super nice to get the sound, but I use it for actually 2 songs in live sessions.
So you're telling me you want me to write more filthy?
No. Yes.
More filthy songs.
I mean, it's nice to play filthy music. It's just quick and dirty.
Slidey bassline.
And I do like it. But that's basically all the sounds I'm using with Charlywood.
Nice.
Pretty much everything is. I'll play it normally. I play it with my fingers. I rarely use picks with Charlywood, just for that one tune actually. In live situation, it is a sound decision. Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily fit to the Charlywood songs, so I prefer playing with my fingers.
I never played a demos with picks either, I think. Hardly ever.
Yeah.
Now it's name dropping time.
Name dropping time.
Artists that either had an influence on your bass sound in your formative bassing years, or super cool artists these days that you get excited about who are doing interesting.
So many names. So many names. Let's just stick with bass players instead of artists because bassists. So many good artists.
We'll put some links in the description.
Yeah, I mean besides the usual suspects like Wooten or Markus Manahl or whoever was famous in, let's say, the 80s. I'm more influenced by the more modern bass players like Yannick Gwisdala had a big impact on me, Rufus Philpott, Tony Levine, to be honest, he's also one of the older generation, but he also had a big impact. Geddy Lee, all the names that every bass player know actually. Big shout out to Scott Devine from Scott's Bass Lessons, because I think that's the best education you can actually get as a bass player.
He's a YouTuber, I'm assuming?
He started out as a YouTuber. He has now scottsbasslessons.com.
Oh.
Huge bass academy, pretty much every famous bass player is teaching classes in his academy. Berkeley tutors 2 classes with him. It's if you need to up your game a bit.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. It is, I think it's about $100 or something per year, which is just, the content is so much worth it. But even on YouTube, you get short clip videos. There's so much information, and he's just a talented teacher.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
Just to clarify, not a sponsor.
Yeah, not a sponsor.
Genuine fandom.
Yeah. And there's so many great bass players. You can learn so much of them. It depends on what kind of music you're going into. James Jamerson as well. All the Motown bass lines he wrote. You can study years on just those lines.
They're a lot of fun. Yeah, proper lines, proper melodic lines. For my bass lines as well. Very, very influenced. I enjoy a bass line that you can hum. The typical person's not going to hum them, but
but at least
a bassist,
a hooky, bass line. Yes.
I like a bass lick every now and again.
Yeah, and I mean, you give the bass the appropriate space for that. If you're in a classical indie rock band with 2 guitar players actually up front, you might not even have the chance to play a bass line that is that important for the song, or play a proper line. You gotta follow whatever the guitar players do. Yes.
Live performance. Let's move on to that. How do you feel about live performance? Is it a necessary part of the song creating and album making process, or is it your favorite bit, or somewhere in between?
Yeah, the other way around, yes.
Okay.
It is actually my favorite bit. I do enjoy studio work as well. I do enjoy songwriting, but my favorite part is definitely being live on stage and being out on gigs and on tour. That's what I'm actually aiming for, yes.
And the obligatory, you've been in the game a fair old while now, before Charlywood, of course. You must have an interesting or hilarious live or terrifying live performance story.
I'm not even sure if I ever had like a terrifying. I mean, I'm a bass player, to be honest. Like,
Doesn't have to be terrifying.
Yeah, no.
Bizarre,
Not really bizarre.
alien abduction.
Nothing like that. One time as a bass string popped, which happens basically never.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't have any spare strings.
Of course you didn't.
Yes,
Bass
because-
strings don't snap.
Yeah, you just don't have them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that ever happened, and I was like, oh,
What did you do?
damn you. Oh, I borrowed a bass from the support band.
You weren't the only band.
Actually, yeah, I had another technical damage. I was just remembering. I played a 78 Fender jazz bass, and nowadays necks are attached by 4 bolts.
Sure.
And in the 70s they attached it by 3 bolts. And the 70 basses weren't, let's just say, not the best craftsmanship Fender's ever done.
Okay.
So the neck joint wasn't solid with the body. And we were just playing and we started another tune and I was just out of tune. I was like almost a half step off, like super dissonant. I was like, oh fuck, I'm wrong. And I just tried to correct it, but it was always wrong. Whatever I was playing was wrong. I was like, fuck, what's happening? And I started tuning during the song and I tuned the guitar and it was completely out of tune.
Again.
And like I started, the band was playing, I was like, fuck, tune. And I was like almost a half step off. And I started tuning it up and I played for, let's say, maybe it was a minute, like just another verse, another chorus. And I started getting out of tune again. What I realized is actually like the neck moved, the whole neck
Just come totally loose.
got loose and moved up and down. Whenever I made a movement,
Okay.
I tore the neck down and I
Sure.
tuned the whole bass. Yeah, that was also a bit of a pity. But that's basically all that ever happened, luckily.
No horrific stage diving
no
injuries
horrific
or
stage
anything
diving.
like that.
No, nothing like that. No, nothing. Sorry.
Okay. And on the off chance that we have some young potential bassists who are considering getting into the game seriously, are there any pearls of wisdom or perhaps horrific mistakes that you made that you could spare somebody else, or anything, for someone who's serious about music and wants to get into bass guitar?
Bass playing? No. I think it's like it's been said so many times, like just play your ass off.
There's no secrets.
Just go to every gig you can get. Actually make those mistakes. That's the most important thing. Like just dare to go on stage and fail.
Yeah, lots of failure.
That's what's necessary, and play every gig you can get.
Yeah.
I think the mindset is the most important thing on that. Like, I know a lot of musicians that are very picky when it comes to gigs, and they never made it anywhere. Especially in the beginning, you just need to play. You just need to get your name out.
Sure. Be bad at the beginning.
Be bad. Dare to be bad. Dare to
Play
fail.
a lot. Be bad. Yeah.
Choose better people. Like, that's the way it is. Like, if you're the best in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah. Get in a good band and be
Yes.
bad. Those are your advices.
and stick to it.
Your
And
two
get-
pieces of
and-
advice.
And get a little bit better.
Okay.
And they'll accept you.
And
one day.
practice.
And practice a lot.
I mean, that's the obvious
Yeah,
one.
like,
So, summary.
summary.
Get in a good band with really good people.
Get good musicians gathered around you.
Be
however you
bad.
do it. No, be good, but have better
good.
people than you are.
Be not as good as the other people.
Exactly.
And practice a lot.
And practice a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. That's basically it.
Markus's bass pearls of wisdom.
Yay.
That's it. Huh? A career might have just started because of that.
Hopefully.
Cheers, dude. I haven't
Yeah.
got any more questions. That was the end of my list of questions. So
I'd say I enjoyed it.
good. Is it true? Also, are you
Little-
just saying that?
Like a part of me did
Oh.
enjoy it. Yes.
Well.
I'm not the biggest fan of interviews.
We got
as you know.
old Mr. Smashy coming up. Got to do his interview as well
Yeah.
at some stage.
looking forward to seeing
I shall
everyone.
apply the earplugs judiciously before we begin. There'll be much smashing.
That'd be a smart move.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us again for another episode of Charlie Talk. One more incestuous band interview at some stage, and then it'll be all Vienna-based musicians from there on out. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and spread the
Somewhere
word.
down here,
Yeah, there'll be buttons around. I've made a little logo button now, and there's an extra subscribe button. So just experiment with the buttons.
Just click on each one.
Yeah, just click on
once.
all of them. Thumbs up, thumbs down. That'll confuse YouTube. Yes, and thanks again for joining us, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.